Well, it's still the AM show. This is called the Dear God edition, and it's on AU Day, hosted live by Roverman Productions. Well, if you live in Ghana, then the phenomenon of schools under trees is probably not new. We have heard too many of such stories, especially at the basic level. However, in Adaku in the Volta region Senior High School, students take lessons under trees, sleep in classrooms, and has been having lessons under trees.
Esinam Komla Ado's parents live in Accra, and she has come to Adaku for a secondary education. She is one of about 200 students in Adaku Senior High School who gather under trees each day to get an education. She tells me what she thought when she first saw the school.
I was very annoyed and I wasn't comfortable here. Even though I was here, but my heart wasn't here. I felt like I should go back.
The school has struggled with infrastructural deficits for years.
Learning and teaching is not going on well, as we are not having classrooms to sit in. When it rains, we go home.
We don't have water on campus, and after school we have to go to town and go and fetch water, and that takes a lot of time. Before you come, they may ring the bell for supper and you may be buried. They will not even listen to your problem. On Saturday like this, you do Saturday work and you have to go to the town where you're going to go and fetch water. And where the water is at the school is too far. So it takes a lot of our time.
It was one of 50 shortlisted for a World Bank project to rehabilitate some of the poorest schools in Ghana. A 3-classroom block, which should have been completed in 2014, is still under construction.
We don't have a dorm. It was first a classroom. That's what we used as a boarding house. So they said they are now building a boarding house.
I want government to reconstruct the school buildings for us, the classroom for us, so that we can be sitting comfortably in classroom and provide us the laboratories so that everything will be possible for us to learn.
Meanwhile, in July 2015, government broke ground on a Community Day Senior High School for the district. The 11 million Ghana cedi project comprises a 4-story block of 24 classrooms located on a 25-acre plot of land donated by traditional authorities. Teachers of the school refused to speak to Joy News on camera for fear of victimization. They, however, told us that they find the situation quite curious, wondering how the existing school fits within the new plan for secondary education in the district. Some suggest that perhaps Adaku SHS should be closed down and students transferred to the Community Day SHS when it opens. Nonetheless, the state of Adaku SHS certainly begs the question: does government genuinely want to address the lack of educational infrastructure in this district, or is it just scoring political points? In the meantime, the ambitious are stoic, keeping their chins up and dreams alive.
I want to be a lawyer.
I want to become a medical doctor.
I was told that some people made it from this school. So I'm sure that whilst some of them have made it, I can also make it.
For Joy News, Jahunyan reporting.
Okay, so that has been the plight of the students at the Adaku Senior High School. And this issue of schools under trees, or someone would call it trees under schools. What do you think of that, Effie?
To be honest, I'm cool. Because I don't like air conditioning. I know most of Ghana loves it, yes, but I must be the only person that thinks a cool breeze wouldn't be that bad.
So you want to be in
a school under a tree?
Or a tree under a school?
But that is a perfect ambience for learning.
Look, to be very honest, I am very, very sure that a situation like this, when you go through it, it will scar you for life.
Why?
Oh.
It will leave an indelible mark on your mind. Anytime you sit in an open space area, you remember your physics.
Ow.
You remember your biology.
Thank you. That's making better students.
It's not an experience that one should wish for.
Oh, wow.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
And I'm sure if he has the next news item,
okay,
so let's go.
So the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has given the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, 10 working days to correct anomalies with its billing system, which it says is at the heart of numerous complaints by its customers. Well, ECG is also facing sanctions for going ahead to implement the new billing software, even though they had been warned against it. The PURC has, in the meantime, asked the company to suspend the implementation of the new software, which is used to work out the bills of mainly credit customers. The PURC's Public Affairs Director, Nana Yajantua, tells Joy News the directive follows numerous complaints by both credit and prepaid customers of ECG, but explains that the focus for now is the credit customers, who make up to 70% of the clientele.
Wow.
But the complaints that were coming were outrageous. Because, for instance, we have a complaint mechanism, a complaint process. Every year, when it comes to overbilling, we get about, when you do your calculation of the 100% complaints that you get, about 18 to 20% are overbilling. From March till now, 62% overbilling. So then we noticed there was a problem. So then we said that let's deal with the problem. So we investigated, we went around, we went to Kumasi, we went to Takoradi, Accra here. We parts of Koforidua, we are now asking them to do Volta region. I mean, that was enough for us to know that there was a problem.
Right.
Because where a consumer has been paid, has been billed from 2015 to 2019.
How is that possible?
That is it. So it's a billing software thing. So you see, when you as a consumer, you get that kind of bill, you might not even be able to interpret the nitty-gritty of the bill. What you are interested in is the end product, the net result. And the net result might be a certain figure that is outrageous. The sum for this one is about 300,000 Ghana cedis. For a consumer who was consuming, paying 50 Ghana, 300,000. So suddenly you know immediately it's an anomaly.
All right. And you're saying that these problems happen to pertain to credit customers?
Yes, mostly credit customers.
So people who consume before they pay their bills?
Yes, people who consume before they pay their bills. Normally, you see, with the deployment of the prepaid meters, you have complaints about, I purchased my unit and everything got finished. I did this and that. With the credit metering, we've never had complaints. It's only the normal complaints that I think ECG overbilled me, one or a few people. But this one, it was mass. Because normally credit meters, you don't get complaints like, but the prepaid meters are new. You hear all manner of complaints that you go in and you deal with. But with credit meters, we never had complaints. So when the complaints started coming, we became suspicious.
Right. Now, what's the proportion of customers when it comes to those using the credit meters and those using the prepaid?
The credit meters are about 70. If a prepaid is about 30%, let's say 70.
So the
credits are more.
They are in the majority.
Yes, they are in the majority. There are more people using credit.
I actually thought that ECG has been phasing out these credit meters.
They are phasing out gradually, but there are more people using credit meters. They haven't phased out completely.
So which areas? Because here in Accra, I believe just about everybody is using...
It's not everybody. Some people are using credit meters.
All right, guys, so have you seen your bill, Kamsi?
It's in the printing machine. It's in the printing machine.
How much?
Considering how long it has taken for my bill to be printed, I don't want to see the figure on the final conclusion.
And you won't understand the nitty-gritties when you see it.
I'm telling you. And I've had a prepaid meter for a long time.
Very long time.
Well, so our next news item on this Dear God edition hosted by Roverman Productions. The Ghana Association, GBA, not the Ghana Boxing Association, the Ghana Bar Association has asked the government to expedite action on matters relating to the implementation of the consolidated salaries of members of the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, JUSAG, as it appeals to the group to call off its indefinite strike. A statement signed by the association's president, Benson Nutukwi, described the current recurrent practice where labor issues are left unattended as very, very, very unfortunate. JUSAC declared a nationwide strike on Friday, May 20th, over what it says has been government's delay in paying its members consolidated salaries. GBA said it was concerned that the underlying causes of the strike, which has to do with the implementation of the consolidation of salaries of JUSAC members, has been long-standing, should have been definitely and conclusively resolved now. The statement said, while the GBA sympathizes with the cause of JUSAC, the association is nonetheless concerned about the course of action and unintended yet grave consequences of the strike. It is therefore appealing to members of JUSAC to resume work while they empower their leaders with the moral authority to conduct the negotiations and pursue their legitimate claims on their behalf.
Well, that was a very interesting. Mr. What?
Mr. Benson Nutukwi.
Say it again.
I'm sure that's the very anointed name.
It's anointed.
Mr. Benson Nutukwi. His fathers must love syllables very much.
This is the Dear God Comma edition of the AM show on Joy TV. And government is meanwhile hopeful that JUSAC will call off the strike by close of day Thursday. Employment and Labor Relations Minister Haruna Idrisu tells Joy News that this was the outcome of a meeting with the leadership of the Judicial Service Workers on Tuesday. He tells Joy News that he assured the leaders that some firm commitments from government should reach them by Thursday.
You have met with the workers. Are they ready to call off the strike?
Government is very mindful of the implications of the strike action by judicial service workers on liberties, individual freedoms and human rights, and its implications for businesses and governance generally. And therefore we have been engaging the leadership of JUSAC. I briefed the Judicial Council yesterday, which further made an appeal to them to call off the action. The understanding we have is that by close of work on Thursday, I'm confident and optimistic that the action would be called off so that the wheels of justice and the delivery of justice and its administration can run effectively and efficiently with their full participation, but subject to some clarification that they have demanded from the government negotiating team. We clearly will make a distinction between a category of the judicial workers, level of directors and deputy directors, whose problem is basically one of restoration. I believe that we can deal with that much more expeditiously with some assurances and guarantee. There's a second category of about 5,200 workers that we have to re-examine and look at the consolidation of their allowances and salaries vis-a-vis our ability and the capacity of the economy. That will be the second leg of it. But we've agreed that between now and Thursday, they would themselves indicate to the public their readiness to get back to work. So you probably will want to find out more from there.
So that
Akwete.
All right. Well, there we go. Now, we're going to go to Uganda. Executive Director of the Institute for Democratic Governance, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, that big man, is warning that the country could explode of the turbulence that characterized the recent limited voter registration exercise, and by-elections are not well managed. Dr. Akwete, that big man, also warned that the inflow of arms into the country must be taken seriously, since mercenaries wouldn't be hard to find if there is an explosion and political parties decide to use violence to win power.
If you look at our election campaigns and you look at the language, you look at the use of media, something the police and parties and so on have talked about. You look at the sheer levels of aggression and the campaigning and the tools and the instruments that are used and so on. We've all ended up feeling so polarized. We're so divided. Our differences are showing, whether it's ethnic or regional and so on. So there are concerns about how things have been. In fact, there is fear of the forthcoming election. Is as palpable. You feel it when you're talking to people, as it has always been, especially in the last, since 2008, when we should be enjoying elections and feel its opportunity to influence public policies and influence leadership choices and so on. People are afraid. Around us in the sub-region, the environment is very conducive for explosion. If we want to explode our country, warring factions will not find it too difficult to find mercenaries who do not cost much in the sub-region. The weapons, there aren't only small weapons. I'm sure that more sophisticated weapons are in the system, especially since after the Mali conflict. So we are not in a good place. Secondly, if we want sponsors of civil violence, those who make money from selling weapons, and they like civil wars because they make there's quite a lot of money around, because West Africa has become the hub for drug business, a lot of money laundering, and so on and so forth. And we also have countries that really also have interest in our resources, our oil, and so on. So it's not like, the sub-region would run and try to stop us from fighting, and so there are other forces, and you have extremists. You have other interests in the sub-region. So we are not in a good place. And if we think that explosion, a little fight here and so on, could easily be suppressed by the security agencies, I'm not so confident because of the nature of the sub-region and the vulnerabilities.
Handsome Mr. Akwete.
Akwete.
That big man. Yeah. Well, yeah. That was him. If you didn't know what he looks like, that was him.
Well, on our last story for this Dear God edition of the AM News hosted by Roverman Productions. Now, you know what? Journalists go through a lot to get their stories on air. Here in Ghana, there have been reports of journalists who have either lost their lives or been beaten and injured in the discharge of their duties. But the situation is scarier for countries that are recovering from war or have constantly been attacked by militant groups. Joy News' Derek Ekosam has been interacting with one man who has been attacked and was nearly killed in the Somalian capital Mogadishu about a month ago. He survived and is still in the fold, and has just been elected the Secretary General of the National Union of Somalia Journalists.
Living here as a journalist in Somalia is life and death.
From near death to elevation, that's the story of Mohamed Mwalimu. The former BBC and Reuters Somalia correspondent was attacked and killed at the Lido restaurant in the capital Mogadishu a month ago. His car was bombed as he tried exiting the hotel. He tells me the scars on his face constantly remind him of the incident, while the mere thought of what happened that day sends shivers down his spine. But that will not stop him from realizing his dreams. He has resolved to do everything possible to ensure peace returns to Somalia despite the odds.
Really, what we are going to living here as a journalist in Somalia is life and death. So you can survive from those, and people, there are journalists who survive from those, are going to still working this hardship, and still there are some people who suffered or fled from their country due to security, and they are now living in the neighboring countries like Kenya, Ethiopia, and elsewhere because of security. But we journalists, we are going to have a safe environment, and that's why we are looking for in the future to have a better environment that journalists can work freely.
He has just been elected Secretary General of the National Union of Somali Journalists, NUSOJ. He says this means more work because he believes as journalists, the stories they tell can either aid or hamper the peace process.
Earlier, when we had a government, people used to go across the country, exchange ideas, and since when the government collapsed, the people divided into clans, and everybody was in his clan. So now, even the interaction of the people was very difficult. So now, when people came together, like the journalists, we think that they are now can become a role model for the Somali people because they came together, sat down together, and negotiated, and then finally chosen a leadership without corruption, without doing anything. So that's the way we wanted that all Somali become in the future.
About 40 journalists have been killed since 2014. But that, according to Mohamed Mwalimu, will not deter him from fishing for information and telling the story of a developing nation rocked and wrecked by war. Derek Ekosam, Joy News, Mogadishu, Somalia.
Well, I think the issue of journalists being attacked on their job is actually a very serious issue, which should not in any way be condoned. Well, we have come to the end of the AM news, 6 a.m. news on AM show on Joy TV. I know you wish that Roland and Mama was here, but no, this is a takeover by Roverman Productions and the beautiful Bernice. We're going to have a massage. We're going to have a massage live in studio.
Ow!
I mean,
I surrender myself.
To be massaged?
Yes. Give me the you take the side.
I mean, a full body massage, people. The beautiful Jessica will be here for
That's
that.
That's
right. We have a question, though, before she comes in.
Yeah.
We all have that friend.
Yeah.
And we all have one or two. Some of us are blessed with more. That have a certain...
Sentinel.
So this is the question. How do you tell your friend that he or she doesn't smell so good?
Yeah.
No, you tell God, dear God, comma.
Why does my friend smell so bad? Dear God, comma, tell my she smells really bad. So we're going to talk about it in a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, and then somewhere along the line as well, we will be talking about your proposal story.
Ooh.
How were you proposed to, or how did you make your proposition to your dear one? And my favorite part.
Oh my goodness.
The question is, how much of bedroom business is too much business?
Right.
And my position is simple. You can never have enough of bedroom business.
Oh, mine is also simple. I don't want to know.
Okay, so until we hear from them, I'm sure some beautiful ladies will be in here to talk around, to talk about the subjects. They are ready to talk. And Gladys will join in with the showbiz gossip. Stay tuned. It's still the AM show with Roverman Productions. Dear God. Okay, and we'll be back with newspaper review.
Oh, yes, he just remembered that.